Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to be doing some work on the Bolens HT20, specifically looking at this problem here. Now, we're a bit disappointed that these tyres only lasted 50 years, but effectively this happened when Dad was cutting grass a couple of weeks ago, probably because our grass is the ground is quite bumpy, so these were kind of bouncing around a lot, but Dad kind of noticed this big crack and the tyre on the tube bulging through it, so he did what anyone would do and carried on, and then effectively once he'd finished cutting the grass, this has been sitting ever since, waiting for its new tyres to arrive, which I will just quickly grab for you. And it is a set of these, which are BKTs, which are 18 by 8.5-8 is the size for the front of this tractor. And you may have noticed this is the same tread pattern that's on the back because it's the same brand. And we really like these tyres. I think it's a very nice looking tread pattern and they seem to be very hard wearing and good value for money tyres. Some might even say they're wheelie good. But today we'll be fitting these and hoping that these last another 50 years on this tractor. Now we have our tyre changer set up in the workshop and that's all ready to go, but the first thing to do is to pull the wheels off, of course. Yep, that's the first one off. That hub's actually quite mucky, but then again, it's kind of what you expect from a grass cutting tractor. There you can see the bulge again. We've got both wheels off now, and as you can see by this one, they are both tubed tyres. However, our new ones are actually tubeless, which we're going to try and keep them that way, depending on if the rims are really rusty, but if they're not, then they should be fine being left tubeless. I'll just take the valve out.
Stuck in there.
No, I can't get it out. I had to cut there and grab some pliers to pull the valve out because it didn't want to come out easily. Now all the air's deflated. I'm not fully sure where the tube went. You can't actually really see it in there. So I'm not even sure if that was the right size for this tyre, but by the looks of it, I'm sure you could just super glue that back together. So if anyone's in need of a front tyre for a Bolens HT, let us know. I'm sure that could do another 50 years service with a bit of super glue on there. But now I will chuck this onto here. Okay, the compressor might need a bit more air to help it actually break the tube. We put some air in the compressor now, so that should be all good this time. And while we were waiting, we took the valve out of the other tube and that's kind of disappeared into the rim. So I'm sure we'll find that out, or we'll dig that out later. But Now to break the beads on these. That's that wheel done. I'll do the other one at the same time. Might as well. There we are, that's all of them done. We have this tyre now mounted on the tyre changer, and you may notice by just the look of this kind of holding bracket part that we have on the tyre changer, it is a gnat's whisker bigger than the inside diameter of this kind of inner part of the HT wheel. Now, we had visions of this kind of going down and then not coming back out of the wheel, so because of that we made up a few of these kind of rubber spacer parts, which we've put under here, stacked on top of each other so that, you know, it kind of acts as a barrier pushing back upwards. And I mean, that's secure on there, so we'll just have to hope that it actually comes off. But I'll put that down there. And now to try to take this tyre off. That's the first kind of rim bit done. Probably need to fish the tube out now. Got the tube out now. That wasn't too difficult, and it doesn't actually look in too bad a condition. I have taken my jacket off because at time of recording it is boiling. Now look at the side of this tyre and the feel of it. It really isn't very strong. You can see all the cracks and stuff on there, and there's a few chunks missing there as well. So clearly these Goodyear tyres were good for 50 years and no more. Now we've started the first bit off on the other side of the tyre off camera because it can be quite difficult just to get it started. There we are. That's that off. Get a tyre lever out there. There we are. That's the tyre fully off, and the rim actually doesn't look in bad condition. We've done the same process on the other wheel now, and the other tyre is actually in decent condition still, actually. So we're going to keep this, or put this aside, for the next time we get a puncture on one of our HTs, or equally it could be put on a Wheelhorse D series if we get around to those projects at some point. But now to put the valve on, obviously since it's tubeless, the valve isn't connected to anything. It's quite a useful tool. This, usually use it on tubed tyres for kind of not losing the valve in the tyre. But I think that is there now. Pulled through the rim. And now effectively we're going to have to work out a way of holding the rim down now, seeing as I'm not sure our previous system will work with that valve there. We've put an extra layer of our rubber kind of stuff on there to protect the valve, and we also put the valve in the other rim as well. We're kind of production lining this whole process. As you can hear, our tyre changer appears to have sprung an air leak, which is unhelpful, but we'll just see how far we can go before it affects stuff. So put tyre soap on the bead to make that a bit easier. And now, probably need to get some on this other kind of edge now too, just to make it easier to kind of slip over. There we are. Then I seem to always forget how to do this when it comes around to get tyres on like this, but use this end of the tyre lever, and I think you go around like this. Thank you.
No.
Clearly I'm doing something about it wrong. Nearly there. And that is the first tyre on. I can probably release this now. And you can kind of see our rubber arrangement here, these 3 blocks on each side. But this can come off now, and it's ready to be inflated, but we might actually do the other one first and then inflate them at the same time. We now have both tyres kind of fitted onto the rims, but they need to be seated now. So what we've done is we've taken the valve out of the kind of valve stem on these, and I don't know if you'd noticed how big the shoulder is on these rims, but it's quite large, and obviously when pressure builds up in here, that's going to go flying to the rim, so we need to stand clear. And we took that out so that air goes in quicker, which we find is the best way to kind of seat these tubeless tyres. Now, sometimes this can be a bit sketchy, so we may well stop partway through and proceed with caution, but we'll see how this goes. It actually looks like it's seated pretty well, to be honest. What are these meant to be up to?
Not sure.
Try and see the pressure on these.
Normally put 9 to 11 in them, don't we?
That's around there. But anyway, when I take this airline off it, it's all going to come out anyway, but the main objective of this was just to get it seated on the rim. What we're now doing is kind of going around the rim, spraying some soapy water in here. And what this does effectively is spray bottles on the way out by the looks of it. But what this does is if you see new bubbles forming, it means there's air coming out. Seems that I'm only getting bubbles out of the spray thing at the moment though. But if there's an air leak, you can kind of see tons of new bubbles forming. So we're just making sure this is seated properly. And we did think that the side of this felt a bit kind of concave, but at the same time that's how they were kind of transported to us. So I'm sure that just needs kind of being aired up for a bit to take the proper shape. Now we have put 15 psi in, which is more than we usually would, just to kind of get it to the right shape. But according to the side of the tyre, these are safe up to about 35 psi anyway. And by the looks of it, other than the bubbles that came out when my spray bottle was being a bit of a pain, there isn't any new ones forming, so we don't appear to have any leaks on this side. We've just come back from a quick spot of lunch, and both tyres appear to be holding air well, and we didn't find any leaks or anything like that, so that is good. We're probably going to leave these at a higher pressure than we'd usually run them for a little while, just to help with the kind of shaping, as we said before, with them being a tiny bit concaved. But it's time for these to go back on now. We did just grease up the 2 points on the front axle, and we noticed there's a bit of wear in here, which means this probably needs new bushings in the front axle there. So one job off the job list for this tractor and another one on, and we'll probably do some maintenance or replace the hub bearings at the same time. But now to try and line this up, which is a bit of a pain when I can't actually see. Doesn't appear to be any light in here. that was going too easy. Something had to be a bit difficult, and that something was lining up the wheel studs, which these hubs don't actually have a proper centre compared to the size of the rim, really, so it's quite difficult to line stuff up, especially when I couldn't even see in there to line them up, but they are on now. So just need to take out the axle stands and let this down slowly. There we are. That's it down on the ground. So that is job done now on those front tyres, and they do look very good. The tractor would look even better if we didn't have all of this grass and stuff stuck in the rear tyres. Then they would actually look like they matched a bit better, but I think once these are cleaned up, that'll look very nice with the matching front and rear tyres. You can see there are still some of the kind of, don't know what you would call these, but the little sticks of rubber that kind of stick out on new tyres on the back as well. So these are virtually new tyres all around, so that's good. Now with the old tyres, we've got a bit of tissue shoved into the broken one so that we can tell easily which is which. The broken one will be going in our for the bin pile, whereas the other one will be going in our spare tyres kind of stack. And those two tubes we're going to keep as well because they are quite useful, and if we get a puncture in either of these two front tyres, I'm sure we'll want to put a tube in there straight afterwards, so it's handy to have those there and ready if we need them. But that is it for this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.